what woke me up was 5 weeks into the pandemic, I was utterly miserable.
You're like, these people.
I was like, no, I don't want to be stuck here. Right? And
I think we all did that.
We're having to homeschool our kids, and we're not homeschool teachers, so they're getting dumber every day. We're watching it happen. We can't fix it.
I'm here with Mike Donehey.
Yes.
And you have a podcast called Chasing the Beauty. You have an album out last year called Flourish. Mm-hmm. We have loved you for years from 10th Avenue North.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you some of the deeper parts of some of your songs, and then I literally just asked people online, what are some of the spiritual questions you've always wanted to ask? And I'm going to get your take because
great.
I trust you that much.
Well, let's get into it.
Okay, so I love your song Work of Art about marriage.
Hey, okay.
I have been married for 5 years. We just started marriage counseling again because I'm like you just need sometimes another voice.
Of course.
And I loved that your song was about how to stay in love. So what's your advice for someone who, like me, who just I want the butterflies again, but it's hard when there's children.
It's the same advice. I just posted a video about this where I have a buddy who keeps saying, how did you know she was the one? I was like, well, because sometimes she was. And they're so disappointing. Wait, what? No, all the time.
Because that means sometimes she's not.
It's going to be all the time. I was like, well, then flip it around. Ask her, are you the one all the time? Of course not. Yeah. Are you the one all the time to yourself? No, there's tons of times you're like, ugh, me? Gross. And so when you realize like falling in love, it happens to you. And I think that's what people mean when they want to say, is this the one? I want to find someone who I don't ever have to choose. I want it to be like it was at the beginning.
Easy.
Because when you fall in love, you didn't choose it. I say in the song, it's all colors and sparks.
It's so sweet.
To fall in love is easy. But to stay in love takes the choice. It takes I'm going to work at this. I'm going to take these colors and these paints, and I'm going to put my paintbrush to the canvas and try to make something beautiful with you.
Yeah. So you are saying in your marriage it looks like choosing each other on the hard days.
Well, I mean, it means choose each other all days. It's kind of like there's guys who go, I need to know if she's the one. I need to know if she's the one. I need to know if she's the one, right? Then they get their answer. They get married. They stop asking God, how should I treat this woman every day after? Which to me is equally as important as seeking his advice on the front end.
It's almost like you don't have to put quite as much effort forth and you get caught in the daily life, so you just don't put as much forward.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
It's so hard.
Well, yeah.
It's supposed to be. It's marriage.
I mean, it is hard, right? But I think a good way to reframe it, I wrote this song called Better, actually, about this.
Oh.
Which it says, I was praying about my marriage. Like, hey, God, when is it going to get easy? And I felt like God said, it may not get easy. And I was like, oh. But that doesn't mean it won't get better. What in your life that's been easy is better?
Not a lot.
The easy things are never the best things. It's always the things that took some effort, and those are the things you stand back and are most proud of at the end.
Yes. Right before we started this interview, I was talking to one of my coworkers about kids and how I'm so new to all of this. It's some of the hardest, toughest moments that I've faced, but you could never describe the sweetness that like it adds to your life. And that's also why I loved your song, Glory I Couldn't See. It literally brought tears to my eyes because you talk about missing some of those moments with your family. What woke you up, and how do you continue to live in a present way?
Yeah, what woke me up was 5 weeks into the pandemic, I was utterly miserable.
You're like, these people.
I was like, no, I don't want to be stuck here, right? And
I think we all did that.
We're having to homeschool our kids, and we're not homeschool teachers, so they're getting dumber every day. We're watching it happen. We can't fix it.
Oh, no.
And I was reading the Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis, and in letter 15, it talks about the present is the only point where time touches eternity. And, it's an uncle demon coaching a nephew demon, and he's like, try to get your human to get obsessed about the future or the past, but don't let them live in this present moment, because the present is the only point that touches eternity.
Man.
So it's basically like, as long as we're resisting where we are, we're not really participating with God. But the second we say, I'm not saying I choose a pandemic, but there is an element of, I choose to be here where I've been put.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can actually interact with eternity.
Yes.
And so that shifted me, and suddenly I didn't feel like a prisoner. I felt this opportunity, and we started camping in the backyard, and now I'm privileged probably more than a lot of people where, I could camp out in the backyard and still afford groceries and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But the point remains, we have to choose where we are, or we're a victim to where we are.
Yes, I struggle with being in the present so much. So when I notice my anxiety's high, like it was this weekend, I go,
yeah.
oh no, it's happening. And I'm like, I have to be present. Are there little things you do in your mind or in your life that help bring you back to the moment, or that make you be present? Because I have to put so much effort in.
Yeah, I only have certain days I can be on social media.
Oh, really?
That was it for me. I just get lost in the vortex, and I'm nowhere. So I just did this trip to Wyoming with a bunch of dudes, and there was no cell service and no internet, and it was amazing.
How long were you there?
5 days.
Off the grid.
Yeah, and the first day, dudes are tweaking. There's fun, and it's shocking when you get in that situation, and and you don't even realize how many times you just reflexively are just, And I think, you can look at the graphs, there's, Social Dilemma, different documentaries, but anxiety and social media use are on this same graph, right? And so that tells me I love what Carlos Whitaker said the other day. He talked about story fatigue. We get more information in the first 30 minutes we're awake than our grandparents would have gotten in a month.
Whoa. I've never even thought about that.
So it's just the amount of things that you're telling your brain and your heart you have to care about these things.
Yeah, and we can't. We don't have the capacity.
And so what ends up happening is you don't care for anybody right in front of you.
You get really...
Because you're exhausted by everything out there.
And that's why we get kind of jaded, because we're not able to participate in the way we should.
Yeah. Have you heard the science about 150? The 150 number?
No.
Like all the micro communities in the world historically, like healthy communities, all the nomadic tribes, hover around 150 persons.
That's all they can manage?
So even Gore-Tex, that company, they won't build a building that holds more than 150 people. Because there's a number where you can care for each other, be in each other's lives, have enough distance from each other, but also still enough interaction where you can tend to each other's needs. And what's really strange is the more densely populated a city, the higher the levels of loneliness and depression. So New York City is statistically the most depressed, loneliest city in the world.
Why do you think that is? When there's more people in a place, you get lonelier?
It's because I would say, there's a lot of reasons, who knows, but one thing that strikes me is subjectivity is harder to maintain when there's so many humans. And so what happens is the subjects become objectified. It's like you can't. It's just because you don't have enough capacity for that many people. And then when that starts happening, then everyone kind of becomes objectified, and then you feel sort of disconnected from everyone.
You don't feel known. You don't feel seen.
It's kind of like I had more friends. I went to a small private Christian school.
Me too.
I had more friends than most of my friends at huge public schools.
Because you knew everyone in your class.
Yeah.
And they can't, because there's like 500 people in their
Yes.
class. Although I kind of wanted to go to a public school someday.
Oh,
I was
big
like,
time.
these same boys every day. Okay, so here's some questions about God. Give us your thoughts. So someone asked, how do I discern whether I'm hearing God's voice or whether I'm hearing the desires of my own heart? I want to know too.
That's if you sort that question out, would you get back to me?
I feel like songwriting is probably you trying to work some of those things out.
Psalm 49, David says, I incline my ear to wisdom, and with the music of the lyre I will solve my riddle. So that's exactly what David said. It's like, I have all these thoughts and feelings, and this is what God says, and I'm going to get my guitar out, and I'm going to let them collide, and hopefully I can unriddle what's me and what's God, right? I think there's some easy qualifiers, right? Like, act justly, love mercy, walk humbly, okay? So are these thoughts, are they leading me toward justice? Are they leading me toward mercy? Are they leading me toward humility? Okay, those are probably from God. The word Satan in Hebrew means accuser. So if I hear an accusatory voice, that's probably not from God. Mm-hmm. But usually when people ask that question, they're usually asking about, like, what's the plan for my life? That's usually the framework. Like,
and
how
am I
do
coming
I know?
up with it?
Correct.
I feel like so often I'm not trying to decide between something good and evil. I'm trying to decide between plenty of things that could be good. Do you just pray and walk?
You know, this is what my whole book is about, Finding God's Life for My Will. My first book, which I just finished the second book last week.
Oh, I saw in Wyoming.
We'll get to that. But my whole book could be summed up in this Frederick Buechner quote. He had the best quote. So simple. He said, your calling is where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. Think about that.
So where your passions meet the need.
Right. So in Christian circles, what we do is, hey, what does the world need? Oh, we need missionaries in Africa. I guess I have to go be a missionary in Africa. Are you wired to be a missionary in Africa? Do you love Africa? Are you, like, fascinated with their culture? Well, no, but someone's got to go, so I'm going to do it. And then you go, and guess what? You burn out in 6 months.
You're miserable.
And you come back. Or we go, what makes you come alive? Because,
I never even know.
I mean, there's a St. Ignatius quote, the glory of God is man fully alive. But if you just ask that,
so self-serving.
you become a narcissistic something. Now, the magic is when you ask both questions and you hold them in tension. So when you say, hey, what makes me come alive? Oh, I love writing songs. Oh, I love doing radio. I love interviewing. Okay, now let's ask the next question. Now that you figured out what you love, how can I do that thing in a way that actually serves and meets the world's needs?
And that's where I think God probably answers, presents opportunities.
Yeah, that's where the magic is.
How do I share my faith and live for Jesus, but not be influenced negatively by my friends who don't share my beliefs?
I have a thought on that. I used to see this, bad company corrupts good character. Right?
Is this the chair thing?
Yes.
Okay, I forgot.
Yeah,
yes.
Bad company corrupts good character. So what we do is, this is the analogy I got given in youth group. They're like, okay, big Timmy, here you go, stand up on this. I'm going to try not to flip.
Awesome.
He's up on the chair, and it's like, little Susie, try to pull Timmy down. Big Timmy, big muscular Timmy's up on the chair. Pull little Susie up. And he's like, ugh, and no matter what, even though little Susie was tiny, she pulls Timmy down off the chair.
So then they're like, don't hang out with people like little
Susie. They're going to pull you down, right? So I go, okay, great. However, Jesus went to those people. He came down to us and let the same mindset be in you that was in Christ Jesus.
And he hung out with the people that everybody else was like, don't.
So how did Jesus hang out with riffraff and didn't get pulled down? Mm-hmm. And I would say it's because he became the servant of all. So the question then becomes, hey, if I get down, sorry, I'm going to pull your tape out, and I'm like, okay, let's rewind the tape. Okay, hey, big Timmy, serve little Susie at her feet. Okay, now little Susie, try to knock big Timmy down.
You can't because he's already down.
You can't knock down a guy who's like, his whole mission is to serve.
Ooh. So
right?
We're going at it wrong. We're trying to influence them for Jesus, and you're saying just serve them and show them Jesus.
Nobody wants to feel like a notch on your belt.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to feel like I am the object of your crusade. They want to feel loved and cherished and known. And so it's interesting. If you just look at those people as like a target on their back, I got to go save them in the name of Jesus. Yeah, they're probably going to end up influencing you in the wrong way because you're looking at them the wrong way. Mm-hmm. But if you go, I am the hands and feet of Jesus, The same mindset that was in Jesus is in me. So he laid aside his divinity and became a servant, even a servant unto death. So when I go around going, how can I serve these people? Suddenly it's really tough for them to influence me negatively.
I feel like that just changed everything.